Greetings friends, welcome. Today we're looking at FlexBox and in particular how to use and how to remember how to use align items, align content and justify content. Before we jump in, if you find yourself enjoying the video though, feel free to click on that subscribe and alert bell icon below. Okay, let's get going. I've got CodePen here. I'm just going to create a container with 6 items in, and then we'll style that using FlexBox. So I'll speed this bit up, just it'll take a couple of seconds. Okay, so what have we got here? We've got a div with the class container. And so we're going to turn that into our FlexBox, and then in there we've got 6 items, each with a class of item, and so we'll be able to target those using that class. Okay, we can see our items are just stacked at the moment because nothing's set as FlexBox. So on our container we can set the display to flex, and that immediately gives us the default flow of left to right horizontally and pulled over to the left hand side here. So this tutorial is not really about learning FlexBox basics, but it's more about how to remember in terms of getting the flow horizontally and vertically, and how to remember which properties to use. So let's start off with the horizontal here. If we want to manage this horizontal spacing, we can apply quite a few settings to it, like space around, flex start, flex end, space between. But which property do we use? In this case we use justify content, and the way to remember this one, certainly for me, is I think about using a text editor, say Word or whatever, and you justify the text. That's always a horizontal thing to spread the words out across the whole of the line. So this is on our container, we specify this property, so we can do justify content. So it's not justify items, and that's because, well, the way to remember this as well, whether it's content or items, is there more than one item in the direction that you're looking to change the flow for. So in this case we've got 6 items in a line here, so we're good to use content rather than items. So we can say justify content, and then we can pick any of these. Let's do space between, and that flows it like that with the items all the way to the edge of the container. So I'm not going to go through each of the settings you can put on there. What I want you to take away from this one is how to remember which one to use. So again, horizontally, justify content, thinking text editor, justification of text, and thinking there's multiple items. So I use content rather than justify items. So justify content instead of justify items. All right, and we'll see that more now with the next one with align. So that's the horizontal. To align these things vertically, we need to have our container have a bit of height to enable us to align them. So let's specify a height on here of say 200 pixels, and we'll put a border on just so we can see where they are, like so. So we can see our border, and by default they are aligned at the flex start. Now, do I use here align content or align items in order to say center these or put them at the bottom? Which one do I use? Well, going back to why we chose justify content, we chose that because there was lots of items, more than one, in the direction we're looking at. In the direction we're looking at, say for item 1 here, if we look down the column that's in, there's only one item here. So we can't use align content. It's not going to do anything. If I do align content, whoops, and say space around, we're not going to get, nothing's going to happen. We can, you can try and put center in here, and again nothing. So that's the wrong one to be using in this scenario, and that's because there's only one item in each column. When there's only one item, we can't use content. We need to use items. And then you can see that immediately moves into the center, and we can use these other ones as well. Well, actually, no, you can't use those other ones because those ones are content. You can use center and flex start, flex end. So let's put them back up to the start and then down to the end. So there's different values that you can specify for the suffix content or suffix items as well. All right, so when can we use align content? Well, we need to have more items in this column, and that means having multiple rows for our flexbox. So we can specify our flexbox to be flex wrap, and if we then specify, I'll close this up because we don't need to see that now. If we then specify a width for each of our items, then because it's wrapping down, we've got multiple rows, and each one of these rows adheres to the FlexBox alignments. But now if we look in this column here, we've got multiple items, so we can now do align content and say space between, and that should go back similar to the horizontal one where the items are flush to the start at the end, and then the space between them. You know, you can do space around, and it will have a bit of space at the top and the bottom. But again, we don't want to go too much into that. What we're interested in is which one do you use when. And so the way that I remember it is, I'll just go through them again. So when we're going horizontally, you're thinking alignment of text, and that's why you want to use justify. So justify does horizontal. And when you're going vertical, you use align. And again, if you've got multiple items, which we had on the justify content, we had multiple items. If you've got multiple items, you can do align content. But if you've only got one item, then you're looking at align items. All right, so that's how I remember it. Hopefully that helps you to remember it as well. I found 2 or 3 times I've learnt these and then forgotten them and not using it for a while. So this is what's really settled it into my head, and hopefully does the same for you. If you like that video, give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down if you didn't. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.